Welcome, Gunrunner.
Fairly recently on this channel, I've done a series of videos looking at consoles that were exclusive to specific regions, such as America, Asia, Japan and Europe. Whilst researching the latter of those, it struck me that there were also specific variations of more popular consoles that never left the continent too. An ideal subject for a story or video, I'm sure you'll agree. Revisions of consoles certainly aren't a rare thing. Pretty much all the major systems had redesigns in their lifetimes, whether it was a cost-saving measure like the Mega Drive 2, or to keep up with the latest design trends as we saw with the multiple models of the Atari 2600, but sometimes companies created more limited models, whether it was to promote something like the Pokemon Nintendo 64, or because more regional branding was needed, like the Tectoy Master System in Brazil for instance. And the latter of those very much leads us on to the subject matter at hand, cases where a completely new design of a console was made for a specific region, which often happened when the hardware was licensed out to another manufacturer, but not always, as we'll soon learn. Some of these designs were also rather striking, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on here. So in this video I'll be showing you 5 incredibly cool console variations that remained exclusive to Europe, leaving all the people in other parts of the world very envious.
The fun is back, as you can see, with the 2600 from Atari. Still under $50, but wait, there's more. There's a stack of new games at your video store. In real sports boxing, the action's rough. If you're gonna make it, you got to be tough. Midnight Magic is an arcade blast. Like a pinball wizard, you got to be fast. Fire Solaris to protect your base, then blast off into hyperspace. The fun is back, oh yes sirree. New 2600 games from Atari.
Although the Atari 2600 Junior was actually a Warner Atari product, the internal turmoil at Atari that eventually saw the consumer division sold to Jack Tramiel was very much responsible for the Junior's release being delayed until after the takeover, so people very much associate the console with the late 80s Atari Corp instead. Perhaps even more interestingly, the 2600 Junior was actually redesigned several times too, albeit quite marginally. There are both the short and long rainbow versions, with the latter being more common in PAL regions and the former in North America, as well as the eye-catching Black Irish, which is the one I want to focus on here. This variation, which some people wrongly refer to as the Vader Junior, earned its rather strange moniker because of its dark mode aesthetic, and the fact it was exclusively manufactured by Atari Europe in Tipperary, Ireland, which was mostly used by Atari Games and Namco for building arcade machines. The most interesting thing about this design is that it dumps the iconic silver strip that was not only found on all the other models of the Atari 2600 Junior, but also the Atari 5200 and both models of the 7800 too, making it a real anomaly. In my humble opinion, I think this black design makes the console look absolutely badass, and it's by far my favourite model of Atari's first console. It's also the rarest and most sought after model outside of the original Sunnyvale Heavy Sixer. As I already alluded to, I do have a Black Irish in my own collection, and indeed I featured this in a video looking at the Atari 2600 Junior console in general. So if you want to learn a little bit more about this model and see a lot more of that uber cool design, then follow the link in the description. A lot of Bang & Olufsen's products had clever gimmicks, from the Sensi Touch operation of the BO Center 9500 to the magic doors of the BO Sound Overture, but the BO Center AV5 is possibly the coolest product of them all, and possibly the coolest console on this list full stop. If you live in Europe and are looking for a console with a serious wow factor, then this really is the one, because this isn't just a box for playing games on, it's an entire media centre. From top to bottom there is a nice sized 25-inch TV screen, stereo speakers that slide out from each side, an LCD display panel, and last but most certainly not least, a CD player on the top left of the unit. And this is the best part of all, because this isn't just any old CD player, it's a CDI player that is 100% compatible with the Philips format, including photo CD, video CD and CDG. Developed by B&O in Denmark, it was available in 6 different colours: pearlescent black, pearlescent blue, pearlescent green, pearlescent red, pearlescent tan and silver. The coloured models are much more unusual than black and silver, but they're all highly sought after by collectors and can go for big money if found with a remote in complete working condition. As you can probably imagine, with it being a Bang & Olufsen product, the B&O Center AV5 was not cheap and didn't sell in very big numbers. Its 1997 release date is also a bit strange, as the CDI format was pretty much dead by this time, and DVD had already replaced the video CD format. Had it released 5 years earlier, it might just have become a really iconic product. At least 20 different manufacturers across the world produce their own variations of the 1292 Advanced Programmable Video System, with the vast majority of these originating in Europe and other PAL regions. Although they all followed the same basic design internally, thought to have been created by obscure Dutch company Audiosonic, they all had their own exteriors, with some looking better than others. By far the coolest of these, in my opinion anyway, is the German Interton VC4000. Released in 1978, the Interton VC4000 is based around an 8-bit Signetics 2650 AI CPU at 4.43 MHz, with a rudimentary graphics chip capable of displaying 8 colours, 4 sprites and simple playfield graphics. It's probably the best known and most widely distributed version of the console, mainly due to its popularity in Germany. This version of the APVS hardware was designed and manufactured by the already successful German hearing aid company Interton Electronics. It wasn't their first entry into the video game market either, having previously produced the reasonably popular Interton Video 3001, a plug-and-play Pong clone. Interton's console came in a very slick-looking black case, with 2 hardwired controllers that both featured a 12-button keypad, 2 fire buttons and an analog stick. Inside the system's control panel there are 4 different buttons: an on-off switch, reset, select and start. It had an RF port connected to a standard colour TV, and was sold for a very reasonable 298 Deutschmarks, which equates to just under €400 in today's money, or around £340, $430. The Interton VC4000 is definitely one of the easier consoles to find on this list, and certainly looks pretty cool in your console display, but it has to be said that there's not a lot worth playing from its surprisingly large range of 50 plus cartridges. This next entry actually follows on really nicely from the one before it, because the Emerson Arcadia 2001 was actually an upgraded version of the Advanced Programmable Video System that uses the same Signetics CPU but with more RAM and an upgraded graphics chip. Like its predecessor, it was also licensed out to different manufacturers around the world, including the likes of Bandai in Japan, Leisure Dynamics in Canada, Hanimax in France and to Chibo in Germany. Most of these companies kept the existing Emerson design, just changing the badges and boxes, but the last of these manufacturers I mentioned is the most notable exception, as they did something very different indeed. Something very cool in fact, hence its inclusion here. So let's look at the rename to Chibo Telefever a little bit more then, shall we? Everything about Chibo's design is different to Emerson's, from the smaller form factor to the metallic blue finish. But undoubtedly the most striking feature of this variation is the controllers. Instead of the handheld analog sticks with their built-in keypads, we have a meaty arcade-like joystick with a keypad in the base. But rather than having one of these for each player, Chibo chose to put the main player's controls on the console itself. So on the right hand side of the system we have a big red fire button, a similar joystick sticking out the unit next to it, and another keypad in the middle. This design isn't just incredibly cool, it's also incredibly unique too, and probably the only example of a second player having the better controller. I think most of us back in the day always dumped the inferior third-party joypad on our friend or sibling. Good luck finding a Chibo Telefever in good working condition, as they seem to be very rare. I only found one sold listing on eBay, and that was unboxed and had the sticks missing. Even then it went for a pretty decent price. I'd certainly love to have one in my own collection. Philips Video Pack, or Magnavox Odyssey 2 to those of you in North America, was a pretty successful product for the Dutch company, and the follow-up to the world's first games console. But whilst America and Canada only got one version of the system, those of us in Europe got several. But by far the coolest and rarest model in this range is the Philips Video Pack G7200, which was released exclusively in Europe in 1983. Reminiscent of the rival MB Vectrix in many ways, the G7200 featured a built-in 9-inch black and white TV screen that gracefully rises from the right-hand side of the console at a slight angle. Obviously this is pretty small and lacks colour, but was designed with portability in mind. If you wanted to, you could still connect the console up to a standard colour TV or monitor via a SCART socket on the back of the unit too. The two controller connectors are placed discreetly on the front side under the keyboard, and there are 3 different knobs to adjust the contrast, brightness and volume. Schneider and Radiola also marketed this model under their own brands in Germany and Sweden respectively, as the Schneider 7200 and Radiola Jet 27. Both of these used a blue case instead of a white one and are even more sought after than the Philips branding model. Later on, the Dutch company also marketed a more compact model called the Philips N60 that used a French designed Minitel 1A teletext terminal case instead, but I don't think these look quite as cool.
I am a Philips video game. Are you skillful enough to navigate in the depths of hyperspace and outfight a constant stream of alien spacecraft? You will need to be deadly accurate and have lightning reactions.
Freedom Fighters. One of a cluster of new video games from Philips.
And that completes my look at 5 incredibly cool European console variations. Are there any other cool looking consoles that you can think of that should have made the list? Or are you lucky enough to own one of these awesome oddities and want to tell us more about it? As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts and views in the comments, so please get typing. Before I go though, I must thank all of my loyal patrons and YouTube members for continuing to support my channel and make videos like this possible. However, I must give special thanks to following patrons in particular for the much appreciated pledges: Grady Haynes, Dee Vaughan, Mitchell Valentino, Neptune, Seth A. Robinson, Carl Olsen, Dos Gamerman, Sonic Mania 999, Paul Daniel, Andrew McKay, Retro Resolution, Matt Standish, James Taylor, Aussie B, 8-Bit Guy and Electron Star Collabs. If you also want to help support all my creative endeavours, including this YouTube channel, then please go and check out my Patreon right now, where you can get access to host extra content including downloads, exclusive videos, creative insights and much more besides. I've been the Laird, I thank you for watching and I'll see you all again for another video very soon.